What's up, people? It's your boy Fishing. I wanted to go over the SEC East, kind of see how wide open it is, or if it is wide open, or if it's just completely Georgia's this year again. If you like the video, man, subscribe, hit the like button, as you all know. But let's start with Georgia. I'm going to go from the list, the most talent down, which I'm sure you know probably is Georgia, Florida, and then Kentucky and Tennessee. But Georgia, man, Georgia loses 15 players on defense. It really takes a big toll. If you compare it to any other team of recent memory, you're going to think about LSU in 2019. Now, LSU had players on both sides of the ball leave for the NFL, and I don't think you can weigh too much really into how much it's going to make the defense decline. I mean, you can a little bit. You can make the argument, but to say that Georgia's not going to have a good defense is just a little bit silly to me. I do think they'll take a little bit of a step back just because you just don't have those playmakers, but you also have young guys stepping up. Really good, really good young secondary and quarterback players. So, but that being said, I think the offense is going to be even better too. If they can stay healthy. Last year they had so many players injured and have to resort to tight ends, but this year they have all the tight ends back. Georgia has the best tight end room in the country, and it's no discussion, and that's just a fact. Now, and then getting the wide receivers back, that's going to be important too. Now, I said this last year, and I was wrong, okay? I said Georgia cannot win a national title with Stetson Bennett. I said that, I was wrong, but they also had a world-class defense, and they're not going to have the same defense this year. Like I said, it's going to be good. Not knocking the defense, but if you play Stetson Bennett, I mean, I do think it plays a role in your season this year. If you play him all year, I don't think it's going to be like you win 8 games, but it may keep you from winning 11, maybe. For example, or losing one of those games, to Florida or to another contender, or like some people are saying, South Carolina, which I just think is silly too. But if you play Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff, or even Stockton, you got to think that the offense will look better for Georgia. Now, I guess it's just going to be seen. Stetson easily could have went to the draft last year after winning a title. Of course, the quarterback class wasn't that deep. Anyway, I'm not going to rant and rave too much about it, but Georgia's definitely the favorite to win the East. There's no discussion on that. It's just going to be whether they can execute on defense, execute on offense, and play the right quarterback, in my opinion. And they got 2 amazing running backs coming in. Branson Robinson, I think, is going to be a legit running back, and then Daijun Edwards he's already shown flashes. So a lot to look forward for Georgia. All right, now let's talk about Florida. Florida's got a lot of issues, a lot of goods and bads. Florida basically rebuilt the whole offensive line. We brought over Montrell Johnson from Louisiana, recruited Trevor Etienne, and have 2 5-star running backs that are on the front end. The run game should be amazing. You can't really imagine that Florida's not going to run the ball this year very well. I mean, transfers on the offensive line, a few recruits, and being completely rebuilt and having 2 offensive line coaches, I think is really going to make a difference. Now, a lot of people aren't high on Anthony Richardson. I'm very high on him. A lot of people aren't, and I understand why. 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, with really just a weird year last year. So, if anybody has a problem with it, it's their opinion. I just don't understand how you can't see the ceiling of play with Anthony Richardson. So we've said enough about that. Don't have to talk about that too much. But I think that the weakness for the team is going to be the defensive line and linebacker depth. The linebacker depth is really just very thin. I've heard that they're doing good and getting good practice in and making plays. That's fine. I mean, Dewan Black, Ventrell Miller, that's all cool and all. I still really have to see it. As far as the defensive line goes, I mean, Gervon Dexter is going to be amazing this year. Top 5 defensive lineman easily this year. But behind him, not very much. So that's going to be a concern as far as teams running the ball on Florida. It just is. Now, the secondary for Florida is really talented, really good, and experienced. So the secondary for Florida is going to be very good this year, in my opinion. We've seen great things from all these players. We have so much talent and depth, I couldn't even rattle off names without missing probably 10. So, as far as Florida goes, like I said, I think they're going to be a lot better of a team than people think. Now, with that said, you got a tough schedule. You got a lot of recruiting battles to win. It's going to be tough going forward, but this is the year where you kind of got to step up. Anthony Richardson have a good year, and then you get good running back play and all that. Even if the defense still lacks a little bit, but makes up in some ways, I think as any Florida fan, you can accept that, and as anybody else, you will understand that, as far as all the transitions that happened, I mean, you'll understand why Florida is the way that they are this year, and which I'll put a prediction that video out. I'm going a little further on this one because obviously you see but yeah, so we'll see about this year. It's going to be tough, but I mean, I have high hopes. We got a hard season. We start off with Utah, Kentucky, and then Tennessee. The fourth game, could go 1-3, could go 3-1, could go 4-0. We'll see. Now, Kentucky. I mean, this is a harder one for me. I don't know very much about Kentucky. I'm just going to come out and tell you. But I will tell you this. Will Levis coming back. Will Levis should be getting better. He's getting a ton of hype from draft analysts or whatever you want to call them, which is still already silly. It's just silly to do it this early. But you got Chris Rodriguez coming back, Kavosiey Smoke in the backfield. Chris Rodriguez is a super senior at this point, coming back for his fifth, I think, season. The run game's going to be good. Kentucky always plays good in the trenches, in general. So good defensive line play, good linebacker play. As far as safety goes, they're probably a little bit thin. Like I said, they're just a harder team to figure out. Mark Stoops gets better. He gets better and better every single year, but he can't really get over the hump. What's the hump for Kentucky? The hump for Kentucky is, in my opinion, is consistency. They're getting better and better every year. But this goes back to the Benny Snell in 2017. They get better and better every year. They get kind of this older team built up, and they have a good season, like a 10-win season, kind of like 2017 and this last year. The only difference between Kentucky is now they have a capable quarterback and possibly a really good quarterback. So that's just what's left to be seen from me. I mean, I don't know how Kentucky is going to do. You lose Wan'Dale Robinson, who's going to be wide receiver for Kentucky, and Will Levis to throw the ball to. That's really my thing. It's just hard for me to imagine Kentucky winning 10 games again. But I mean, they're not going to be a bad team. That's not even in the question. They're not going to be a bad team, but you gotta want to see Kentucky be a little more consistent. And like I said, I mean, I just don't know what to expect from them this year. It's just really tricky for me. So, all right. So for Tennessee, I mean, you got Josh Heupel running the hurry up offense. You got Hendon Hooker back there. Hendon Hooker, in my opinion, top 5 quarterback in the SEC. Really, really talented. He's got 2 really good wide receivers to throw to. He's got Jalen Hyatt, and I always draw a blank on the other guy's name. But 2 really good named wide receivers back there. And then a third one that's actually not a bad, for the depth purposes. There's another third good receiver that had pretty good stats last year. Offensive line, kind of an issue for Tennessee. And defense, man. Tennessee's defense only got better throughout the year. And that's, I guess, what you can say about most teams, I guess, because it's what you're supposed to do. But Tennessee, as far as we know, about the McDonald's bag thing and Jeremy Pruitt, Tennessee had so many transfers. I mean, they had really no talent on that defense. They just really didn't have anybody. To'o left. They were really a big mystery team on defense, and they started to play a little bit better, but honestly, not a very good year for the defense last year. Now, that's going to be my thing about Tennessee. If that defense can get better, like I said, you got the receivers and the quarterback coming back. If the defense can find a way to get better, which they should, just under second year of a coaching staff, I think Tennessee could be a really dangerous team this year. They have a chance to beat Florida. They even have a chance to beat Georgia. But we got to see it come down on the field to the wire. And as far as competing for the East, it's kind of a stretch, but I'm just saying it could happen. It's kind of more open than usual. Usually we just pencil in Georgia as number 1. Okay, who's gonna be second in the East? And so we'll see what happens from that. Now, I guess that's all I got to say about Tennessee. But South Carolina, okay. South Carolina, in a nutshell, what South Carolina is right now is going to be a decent run game. Pretty, in my opinion, Spencer Rattler is not going to be bad, okay? I don't know what to tell anybody that thinks that he is. Spencer Rattler is going to be a good quarterback. But like I said, in a nutshell, pretty damn good quarterback play, pretty decent running back play, and pretty good defensive line play, and some safety play. Other than that, you're kind of just You're kind of just everywhere on that team, and it's just a result of coaching changes over multiple years of bad years, kind of like Tennessee. I mean, I'm saying the same thing, and Shane Beamer bringing in coaching staff. You know what is a main concern of mine? Everybody was complaining last year about the offensive coordinator for South Carolina just being so bland and predictable and everything, and he's still there with Spencer Rattler. I wonder if that's going to change. I wonder if they're going to try to open it up, get creative. But I heard from a lot of people that he's just a really bland guy. So that's going to be something interesting too. But as far as contending for the East, you got to imagine that Spencer Rattler's a Heisman to predict them to contend for the East. But so that in a nutshell. Now we're not going to talk about Vandy. We can get into Missouri real quick though. Missouri, in my opinion, is not going to be good this year. I mean, really not at all. They played horrible on defense last year. Started to kind of put it together towards the end of the season, and by putting it together, I mean playing up to par, average. I mean, their defense was horrible last year. They lose Tyler Beatty. They got Connor Bazelak. He hasn't played good. It was his second year last year. He didn't play good at all. Tyler Macon at quarterback. A lot of people are writing him off. I don't know. He's a dual threat quarterback. He made some flashes last year. I mean, but Missouri has went out of their way in any way possible to try to get a transfer quarterback. I mean, JT Daniels, they hit and miss. There's a few more I can't remember off the top of my head, but they just went and swung and missed on a lot of transfer quarterbacks. Like, they literally were trying to get one as if they just didn't have one on the roster. They were trying that hard. So you can't imagine that the play's going to be that good either with Missouri. So with that being said, I mean, that's the East in a nutshell. I mean, I could go a lot more detail. I'm just speed spitting, talking, but that's just what I think about the SEC East. And if any team can compete with them, you let me know. I think if I had to make it's an obvious fact that Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee are the only possible suspects. But with that being said, I guess let me know what you think. Maybe Tennessee has number 2. Maybe they can steal the spot. We'll see. But yeah, let me know what y'all think, man, and we'll see y'all.